Hello, and thank you for giving me the time to be able to speak with you regarding why we should be teleworking here within the federal court system. Imagine it's the middle of winter, the days are cold, and the nights are long, and the weather can be very unpredictable. You wake up to get ready for work, you go to let your dog out, and there's 3 feet of snow in your backyard that arrived last night. You call into your supervisor, and she tells you to go ahead and work from home. You are relieved that you won't have to try to navigate the treacherous roads to go into the office. You can instead log into the meeting sites and attend the day's meetings by video conference. So teleworking should be made available to all personnel who can accomplish their daily tasks utilizing the remote access made available to our courts. I'd like to convince you that implementing teleworking within our court unit would be beneficial. I'll explain to you what teleworking is and the purpose of it, as well as who in the court could telework. I'll present some benefits to you as my employer to allow teleworking, as well as the benefits to me as your employee. First of all, teleworking. What is it? The term telecommunicating and teleworking was first coined by Jack Nils in 1973 after he joined the University of Southern California as the director for interdisciplinary research. He conducted studies and research regarding information technology and how it would impact the work that people do, past and present. He wrote and published books about telecommunicating and how to institute it within your workplace. Teleworking can involve partial days or full days, 1 or 2 days a week, 2 or 3 hours a day. A theoretical telecommuter can schedule 2 days off and then work for 3 days on in the office. Teleworking involves working at any location other than the office. Some examples would be from a home office, an internet cafe, or library, or even while a person is on vacation, they'd be able to accomplish their daily tasks without interruption. The Telework Enhancement Act of 2010, enacted in December of 2010, addresses teleworking within the executive branch and the executive agencies within the federal government. It requires the head of each executive agency to establish and implement a policy under which employees shall be authorized to telework and for other purposes. The Act establishes policies and procedures for the executive branch agencies to follow. These procedures and policies can also be applied to the judicial branch to implement a teleworking plan. Establishing a teleworking plan can also come in handy in instances of inclement weather shutdowns, such as what they call the Snowmageddon from 2010. Continuity of operations can be enacted to save money. Emma Plum wrote an article in the U.S. News stating a 2010 storm cost the government an estimated $71 million per day in lost productivity. Without a teleworking plan in place, money and productivity can be wasted. So next I will establish how a telecommunicating work plan can benefit you as my employer. By having employees who telework, operating management costs can be reduced. The 2014 Status of Telework in the Federal Government Report to Congress shows a comparison between fiscal years 2011, 2012, and 2013. The report shows teleworking reduced the costs to government. Rent and other associated costs to the facilities can be reduced by having employees alternate work schedules and share office space. Those same employees could share parking spaces and potentially cut parking costs in half. By allowing employees to work from home part-time, they would spend less time being exposed to other people in the office who could be potentially sick, or if they are in fact sick, reduce the chances of exposing the employees at the office from getting sick. So by reducing that exposure, they would also reduce the amount of sick leave used, and that would save the government money and money and production of the work for the day. The same report on page 101 shows that the teleworking plan also improved employee morale and productivity in the office over those 3 years. When the plan was instituted in 2010, the report evaluated fiscal years 2011, 2012, and 2013, and showed the cost benefit to the federal government for instituting that teleworking plan. Not only does the employer benefit from the cost savings of teleworking, the savings also extends to the employee. An employee who teleworks can experience fewer monthly expenses on their personal expenses. Teleworking from home can reduce the amount of fuel that they use, providing less wear and tear on their vehicles, saving them in vehicle upkeep and cost. Not only does it save them, but ultimately it saves the environment as well by reducing CO2 emissions from their vehicles. And teleworking can also save employees with their childcare expenses. Not saying that when an employee works from home that doesn't mean they don't send their child to school or daycare, but by spending less time commuting to and from work, they decrease the amount of time their child might have to spend in daycare by a few hours, or even not having to implement after school or before school programs, and ultimately saving them childcare costs in the long run. Employees also will increase their satisfaction with their job and what they do. Teleworking can help to cut down in office politics and office drama by not being in the situation, by not being involved in that way, reducing the stress on the employee. They can concentrate more on what they're doing and completing their tasks without the outward distractions of the other people in the office. Lastly, by reducing their commuting time back and forth to the office, it frees up more of their personal time as well. Each hour that they would save commuting each way, an hour to work, an hour home from work, that would be 2 extra hours they could spending time with their children, with their spouse, making personal doctor's appointments, going grocery shopping, doing other errands that they might need to take care of. So by reducing the amount of commuting time to and from the office, increases their personal time that they can spend on their own activities. Now, I've told you what teleworking and telecommunicating is, who it involves, how it benefits you as my employer, as well as myself, the employee. And telecommunicating and teleworking can vary from a few hours, multiple days a week, to full-time teleworking. Obviously, in the court, we wouldn't be able to do full-time telecommunicating because there are duties of the court where we would need to be on site to complete. But I do believe that teleworking a few hours a day or even multiple days a week by co-working with other employees is something that needs to be implemented. By doing so, it would be beneficial to both you as the employer and me as the employee. By being a cost-saving measure for everyone involved, it would increase employee morale and employee retention. Happy employees want to stay in their job. When employees are happy, work production improves, and telecommunicating and teleworking would be beneficial to you, to me, and even to the environment. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your decision.